Hi, Phil Plait from badastronomy.com here with a Q&BA session where you guys get to ask me questions about astronomy and space. I have a great question here from John Fleshman, and that is, Phil, what would you tell someone who asks why we spend any money at all for NASA instead of here on Earth taking care of our local problems? I think we need NASA and space exploration, but couldn't come up with a good answer last night. This happens a lot. Somebody asks you a question, you know the answer, right? But right there, right on the moment, on the cusp of the moment, you can't think of something. It happens all the time. It happens to people very familiar with things. One thing that helps is if you think about these questions a lot, read about them a lot, and even practice answers, or look for answers that are short and sweet and easy. In this case, there are a couple of different ways to answer it. When somebody says, why are we spending money on NASA when we have local problems here? Okay, the short answer is, when we spend money on NASA, it's not like we're loading a rocket full of dollar bills and just exploding it out into space, right? That money is being spent on space, but it's being spent here. There are people who are employed by NASA all over the country. NASA has research centers in Maryland and Texas, in California, all over the country. And they employ contractors who live all over the country. And there are pieces being developed for the rockets that are being built in Utah and Alabama, just all over the place. So that money is being spent locally. Now, for example, astronomers might have NASA grants. And so they might be getting a few $1,000s to do some research with, say, Hubble data from 10 years ago. All that data is archived. So I could propose to NASA, hey, you know what? I need 10 grand to pay for myself for a little while to work on some of that old data because I'm looking at variable stars and I want to go back into the archives and find all that stuff. So that money is being spent wherever I happen to live, and I have to pay taxes on that. So that money goes back into the economy. And so that money is being spent locally. Also, that's the short answer, and you can make it as short as you want. The more philosophical answer, the longer answer, is that we don't want to be eating our seed corn. And that's a great expression. What that means is if you're planting corn for next year, you have seed corn for that time. The thing is you have it now. And if you want to plant it now for next year's corn, then you're planning for the future. But if you're out of corn now and all you have left to eat is your seed corn, great. You can eat that now, but then what are you going to do next year? So you don't want to do that. You want to plan for the future so that you can always have something set up for the future as well as the present. And that's what investing in science does. It's not just NASA. It's the National Science Foundation. It's all these different science organizations that are sponsored by the government. These groups are doing work, and they're laying the foundation for the future so that we can learn more about the Earth, our environment, the sun, the universe. Sure, that benefits us in many ways. It helps our technology. Everything, you guys are listening to me right now because of technology, and that technology is based on science, and that science is a tapestry, a mosaic of hundreds of thousands of different individuals who have contributed to it. But also, it inspires the next generation. You know, the technology you're using now is based on science that we've done in the past. We have to continue to produce that science, to do the research, so that we can continue into the future, right, to have the technology we enjoy and to learn. And that's just, I was going to say Machiavellian. That's sort of, I don't want to say, egotistical is the wrong word too, but I mean, it's the technology that we're using now. And it's not just technology is what I'm trying to say. It's not just sort of that banal use of science, that it's just, oh, our technology depends on it. It's also just the love of mystery, the love of problem solving, the love of science, the love of nature, the love of looking around that corner and seeing what's next, what's over the next hill. That's what this science does. It's going to encourage the next generation of people who want to explore and who want to learn and who want to find out what's going on in the universe around them. So when somebody says, why should I spend money on NASA when we need that money here? That's a false dichotomy, okay? We need to spend that money for the future. That money does get spent locally. That's very important. And also, we can do both. You know what? Yeah, right now as I talk, we're in a recession or an economic downturn or whatever the heck you want to call it. But in fact, we can choose to spend money in different ways. And we choose to spend millions of dollars an hour on foreign wars. And we choose to spend $90 million a year on tobacco products. That's one of my favorites. We can choose to spend that money on science and investing in the future. It's our choice. Make the right one.